FM 94, The Dark. It is that time again. It's time to get to know an artist we play here on The Dark, and a lot of fun to talk to this guy, and it's been a little bit talking about the guy that sings for Blacklite District, that being Kyle Pfeiffer. And Kyle, first so much, thanks for joining me on The Dark once again. How you doing?
Bro, I am doing good. It's a pleasure to be here. I love The Dark. I'm a huge fan. And you know what? It's good to talk to you, brother.
It's great to hear your voice because it's been a little bit, and I know you've had some kind of ups and downs as of late, and I'm glad to know that things are on the up once again for you, isn't it?
Absolutely, man. Well, you know, that's the thing. Just like anyone in life, you know, everyone has ups and downs, and we all have, you know, our struggles, and as we know, the struggle is very real. But yeah, man, it's great to be here. Just knowing that I have new music coming out and talking to great people with like you, who I consider, you know, in a circle of friends in the music industry. So it's just awesome to get to talk with people that I enjoy and I'm fans of too. You know what I mean?
I hear you. And you have a lot of fans here in the Little Falls area. They've seen you play a couple of times, and we'll get you back here sometime in the future. But tell us on the music side of things, what you and Roman have been up to as of late. And I'm excited to see that it looks like you got some new music in the works here.
This is true. Yeah, man. No, Roman and I have been hard at work, really over like the last 2 or 3 months, whatever it is. Just back in the studio. I basically built a studio at my house because we used to travel so much to record, you know, whether it was to Orlando, spending 6 months there recording with Brett Hessla, who's a great producer, recording with Sahaj, another really great producer who is also the singer of the band Raw, if you remember them.
Oh, yeah.
Out in L.A. He's a great guy. But, you know, I'm also really interested in the mixing and production side of things, and I've been doing that for a long time. So lately, you know, the last 2 albums, we pretty much produce and do all the work ourselves, aside from, you know, last album I did 1 track with Sahaj in California. But, no, man, it's just it's about getting in the studio, and this is what we do at the end of the day, you know. For all lack of better term or whatever, like, this is what we do. And to go in there and make new music and to be able to do it on our terms, make the music we want to make, release it when we want to release it, that's the best part, man. So, again, just being on the phone with you right now, I know it's getting close, and it's always the funnest leading up to a new release, you know?
Absolutely. In fact, coming up later on here, after we're done with the interview, we're going to do a brand new release, Me Against the World. We'll talk about that coming up a little bit, but actually, let's get back to your old roots, and let's go back to the days where you had With Me Now, Take Me to the Grave, you know, songs like that. And at one point you were a 4-piece, and then you trimmed down to a 2-piece. We kind of talked about that, but since you switched over to the 2-piece, you've really kind of gained a whole different audience now, haven't you, over the past couple of years?
100%, bro. It's like, I try to look at it like, the music, because as we all know, the music industry changes and evolves so much, and there's always new platforms or new, you know, areas to get your music out. So, you know, we've all had YouTube around for like the last 14 years or something like that, and man, it was really just like, look, you know, doing what we do, you have to, you know, you basically pitch your music, whether it's radio or a tour or a Spotify playlist or a specialty show, whatever the case may be. And people, you know, there's what we call gatekeepers and toll takers in the industry, where usually, you know, there's a guy you got to pay to get this or to get that, and half the time you're paying these people only to get turned down, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I really just started, you know, really keeping up with YouTube and Spotify, and in a funny kind of plot twist, I mean, I really started with me watching a lot of these new SoundCloud rappers, as they call them, where some of these new artists that are literally 20-year-old kids are putting out music, and they're debuting at #1 on the charts, and they're going platinum, and they're doing this without any traditional promotion, really just utilizing, you know, Spotify and YouTube. Because if you think about it, bro, we have access to just as many people as anyone else does. You know, yeah, like people will say a label will get you in front of more people, but you have the door right there to hundreds of millions, I'm sure, of people across the world that use these platforms, you know? So it's like if you can get your music in, you can get it heard, man. And it was just like, bro, like that was really where it all started. It was like, you know what? We have the access to this audience. Let's go get it, regardless of how we do it. If it's a Minecraft video that hits 50 million views in a year and a half, or, you know, a Spotify playlist that has 500,000 listeners, you know, whatever the case may be, man, it was just the goal to get us in front of as many people as possible while using as few traditional outlets as possible. And to make a long story short, man, like it really made an impact, bro, because now I'm fortunate to say that I have millions of listeners across the globe, a young audience, passionate fans that really, you know, this music means something to them. I don't know how many comments or DMs or whatever I get from parents saying their kids have cancer and my son Cold as Ice is what keeps them going, to kids themselves hitting me up saying, you know what, man, your music saved my life. It took me out of this depression. At the end of the day, bro, versus any fame or any money you make, that is like the ultimate, like, feel-good moment for an artist. When it's like someone is so, because I know I can keep going and going, but, you know, when I was growing up loving guys like Ozzy Osbourne or Motley Crue or whatever, it's like I just wanted to give people the feeling I got when I listened to my favorite artist. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Absolutely.
And nowadays you can directly. So
yeah,
that's like the important thing to me, man. It's really, I'm grateful at the end of the day.
Well, you know, I think you hit the nail on the head. Every artist, okay, there's two ways to look at an artist. You know, one, you're in it for the love and the craft, or two, you're in it for the money. And if you're in it for the money, you're probably not going to last very long, because this isn't a very, I guess, glamorous world behind the scenes. There's a lot of crap that happens, isn't there?
100%, man. 100%. Well, going back to like what I mentioned a few minutes ago, the gatekeepers or toll stations,
right.
You know, some radio stations, bro, and I know it's so taboo to talk about this and nobody ever wants to. I've probably talked about
You've talked about it. And that's why I like, Kyle, that's why I like talking to you, because when we talk, this isn't edited. This is real life. We're talking like it is. I'm on this side, you're on that side, and I get it. And I love it when you come out with this stuff, because we've chatted about this stuff before, and we're talking about the Gatekeeper thing and how really frustrating it has to be for young artists, because how does a young artist in today's world get noticed anymore? Because it's not the old way like it used to be.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, man. It's like going back to the YouTube or Spotify thing. It's like, if you know that everyone who's listening to any major artist is on there, and your music or whatever you do, a podcast, whatever it is, if you're there and you have access, it's like, you know what? That's the difference between now and like years ago, where, you know, even 5, 6, 7 years ago, I mean, you weren't getting in anywhere unless you threw a guy, wrote him a check or threw him some cash. Or,
right.
I mean, it's just crazy. And that still happens, especially when it comes to, you know, certain radio markets or things like that. But, man, it's like, again, if someone wants to start new right now, and I see a lot of these bands that come out, and, of course, the way to think is, okay, we need to get on the radio. You know, but that isn't the be-all, end-all, as you know nowadays. It's definitely a good start, but a lot of these bands come out and just say, okay, we're gonna save up $20,000 and just put it all into radio.
Right.
And chances are, if you're gonna do that, you're not gonna see a return on your investment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because again, it's so limited. I mean, thank God there are stations like you and guys like you who love music and do. You know, I think the dark, in a way, is how all radio should be, because you play a great playlist, man. You know, it's not just the same songs over and over, and no one else gets to get in and get a chance. You know what I'm saying? So, again, if I was a new artist, man, I'd be focusing on Spotify and YouTube and places where you can actually get results. And again, then go to, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you got to just do it right. And there's just so many ways to do it nowadays. There's really no right or wrong way.
Right, right. Hey, we're talking with Kyle from Blacklite District. He's got a new song that we're going to debut here in just a few minutes. But, you know, since we're talking current events, let's talk some current events right now. And I want to get your take, I guess, on a couple of things. First of all, I don't know how much you follow the rock radio side of things, but I've noticed that, and I'm curious to see as an artist.
I bet I know where you're going with this. But
Well, I bet you there's two things you know where I'm going with this. But first, I want to know, and since you are an artist that's crossed over into other genres, what is your feeling about a song that Ed Sheeran does? And he gets on rock radio and then gets right up the charts right away because his name's Ed Sheeran. What's your feeling on that, I guess?
Well, that's actually a really interesting one because I always follow, being in this industry, I have to follow the charts, and I always want to stay up to date, Yeah. You got to know what's happening. So I got to tell you, man, I was actually surprised when I saw that the first time, on a chart or something. And then even Octane is playing this song.
Yeah.
And to me, it's kind of like, it's so hard because I can't say enough about the song because I've only heard it, I think, one time.
Right.
But again, when someone like Ed Sheeran does a rock song, I guess, I just don't know, man. What do you think about it?
Well, I'm asking you now. I don't know. No, I'm not playing it, and I don't know if I should be or not. Is it? And I guess my question to you, and like I said, you kind of cross over into different genres, but for a rock artist, is it a good thing to have Ed Sheeran kind of like open the door for your platform, or is it just a gimmick, just to hey, I can do this too? I mean, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, obviously, you're just talking about these young bands that don't get a chance to get their music played because now you have Ed Sheeran, who's not even in your demographic, is playing a song now on a radio that is good for a rock band.
Right. No, bro, I mean, you just nailed it right on the head right there. I mean, it's like a double-edged sword in some ways, where it's like, okay, yeah, why does Ed Sheeran come in? Sure, he's got a name and he's one of the biggest pop stars in the world, no denying that.
Right.
But, I mean, it's like if he does a country, is he just going to go right to country radio with the next single?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he wants to do it because, maybe the guy loves rock and roll and really wanted to do it. Or maybe it is just a gimmick, man, just to be like, you know what, I'm on the pop charts all the time. Let's try something else. And you know what I'm saying?
Right, I hear you.
Now, again, it can definitely be a door opener if Ed Sheeran is personally out there saying, hey, I'm on rock radio, you guys go listen to these stations, because that could introduce, but I don't think that's the case.
No, I don't think so either.
For all we know, the guy doesn't even know or care if he's on the rock charts. You know what I'm saying?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I'm sure that you were thinking of was the Tool thing, right? Is that what you were going to say?
Nope, I was wrong.
Oh,
bro.
okay.
I thought you were going to come in and say, what do you think about all these bands that sound like they're from the 70s?
Well, we can get to that too.
I've just been hearing so much about like a lot of these groups and a lot of the radio guys who talk to think, like a guy I work with personally, he thinks it's a trend or a fad right now to, like Greta Van Fleet started that, and then now there's again, I see on the charts, quite a few bands that have that old school sound. What's your take on that, though?
Once again, rock is kind of in a identity crisis. It doesn't know what it is, and that's just it. I guess if it's good music, I'm okay with it. But the Greta Van Fleet thing, saying that they had no idea about Led Zeppelin and all that kind of stuff, I'm thinking, really? I'm like, come on, I'm not that dumb. All right, but anyway, I mean, it is what it is. But, I look at, something like that, and then I look at it, like these crazes. And I even went back talking like 5 years ago. I was talking to, how many female-fronted bands I was talking to? That was the craze like 5 years ago. That just became a huge craze in hard rock. Now it's the 70s thing again. So who knows?
And again, not that there's anything against. I mean, look, a lot of my roots and my early influences, like I said, Ozzy, Motley Crue, Black Sabbath. I mean, I'm all about all that, Guns N' Roses.
Right.
Yes, I mean, nothing against any of these guys at all. Honestly, I just think it's interesting that now this kind of stuff happens. You know what I'm saying?
I will say this. I will say that bands like Greta Van Fleet, like some of the other ones that are, let's say, more metro market, get played, and they get the spins on media base, but the secondary markets don't spin their music as much, which is, I think, where the more hardcore rock fan is.
100%. Well, there again, man, it's like, with some of excuse me, with some of these, like iHeart and Cumulus,
Correct.
they have X amount of stations, and I'm pretty sure that there's, long story short version, one guy that programs their entire panel,
Right.
something along those lines. And again, man, it's like, well, I know for a fact that the head of Apple Music for rock, the head of rock, like at Apple Music, he said that, well, rock music is now considered like Greta Van Fleet and these new sounding bands, whereas like what they call active rock, like the hard rock stuff, is now going to be specifically hard rock.
Right.
So to him, he's changing the rock world, or so he says, by doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it is. Again, you're getting old, maybe an older demographic of guys that are in control now that like that style. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
like, hey,
that's what they grew up with.
Exactly.
That's what they grew up with. I mean, that's, it's back in the 70s and the early 80s kind of feel. I mean, that Aerosmith era, that Fleetwood Mac. I mean, it's, that's kind of how it is.
Don't get me wrong, bro. I love that there's more variety.
Oh, yeah.
Like now than ever. Because on the flip side of that, let's say an artist like me, is hard rock, but I have elements of other things. Or this artist, like, I just heard that new Volbeat song, and I mean, to me, that sounds like an 80s pop song.
Last Day Under the Sun, Yep, exactly.
Yep.
So,
just things like that. But in a good way to end that part, I think it's a good thing that there's more than just like a Godsmack sounding band every 10 minutes, But whatever it is, man, I think artists just got to find a way to stick out from the crowd, be original, and do something that has a real impact. And I'll always stand by that.
So then to contradict the one guy with the suit that's doing the playlist, how can he put a 10-minute song into his rotation from Tool then when 4 other songs get knocked out then because of it? That's another question. And I'm kind of curious to see how long it's going to be for Tool. And nothing against Tool. I mean, they're doing it because they can do it. They have the name, but they're kind of almost pushing their way into saying, hey, we're going to do this, and we're not going to have a radio edit. This is what you're going to get. So how long do you think it's going to last?
And I'm actually glad you brought this up, because I'm sure you followed, Tool just released all their stuff, like, on streaming platforms.
Absolutely. Yep.
And, I get where they're coming from. I mean, all their albums are in, like, the top 10 or top 20 on the Billboard charts and stuff. But, yeah, man, the thing with, like, a 10... And, look, no disrespect. I'm not the biggest Tool fan in the world.
Yeah.
I don't really know, man. But I think it just broke a record because it actually debuted at number 93 on the Hot 100. And they said it's the longest song, which is the pop charts.
Right, exactly.
And they said it's the longest song to ever do it, fueled by streams and things like that. But I don't know, man. Again, like what you're saying, that's 4 other songs that could really, again, when you think about it, how much impact is it going to make getting spins of the Tool song, or is it going to benefit a new artist more? Obviously, it's going to benefit the new artist, but I mean, like you said, I guess they have the name and they can do what they want if they say.
Yeah. But the other...
just on literally scrolling through Facebook a bit ago, I think the drummer said that their original plan was to make the Tool album like literally just one giant song. I mean, no joke, bro. I literally...
One giant song, 7 chapters of that one song.
Yeah, and of course, man, I mean, dude, they build the hype on this stuff so hardcore. Right. And then I see half the people don't even like the song,
Well, obviously it's 10 minutes, which you could probably edit it down to about 6 minutes, even 5 minutes, and be just the same.
I don't even think the vocals come in until like almost 3 minutes in or something.
You're right on that. One other thing too that and I know that Cory Taylor, obviously from Stone Sour, and Slipknot is very vocal on is how artists get paid and stuff, and the streaming side of things and radio and that. And actually, radio has got it figured out that actually you do get paid. The streaming side is a little bit more different in that. I know you've done obviously the YouTube and stuff like that. I guess what are your feelings about kind of the comments that he's made? If you've even heard those comments at all?
Oh, I did. Yep. No, great question too, man. Well, see, I look at it like this. Most of the time, I'll see people on social media, usually people in bands, saying, streaming doesn't pay, it's so low. And I mean, if you think about it, it is. It's like a fraction of a penny every time you get a stream,
Right.
But the thing is, man, if you get a lot of streams, you're going to do very well.
Right.
You know, and it doesn't even have to be an astronomical number, you know. On Spotify, I do like 1.2 to 1.5 million streams a month, which to some artists is an astronomical number that aren't even close to that. Yet there are artists that are 20 times doing what I'm doing, you know. At the end of the day, bro, I'm able to make a very comfortable living off of streaming specifically. In fact, this year, Spotify is going to account for something like 70% of my revenue.
Wow.
And again, man, so you just got to look at it both ways, because the artists, like I said, that aren't getting a lot of streams are going to complain about it, you know. But you know what I'm saying? And of course, now I think the royalty rate should be more, but it's not like you can't make a living, because you can. And I just consider myself proof of that. Not saying I'm a star, because I'm not, you know, but at the end of the day, I'm a star to my fans and the audience that I've built. And if you can get those fans, you know, people think, oh, I just need to get signed to a record label and everything's just going to happen. But you got to think about this, bro. The record labels don't have a magic wand that's going to force people to like you.
Right.
Like, yeah, they can maybe put you on somewhere to get seen, but guess what? If there's a billboard in New York City, I don't know who you are, you think I care about it? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to look at it like that. I feel like a label nowadays is more used for artists who have some buzz and are making some noise, and use a record label that's basically adding fuel to the fire. But you got to go get that fire started, because, like, going back to what I talked about earlier, having access to the audience, which we all have, no reason a new artist can't be out there making noise on their own if they got what it takes.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
It's just a hustle, bro. It's
It
like
is.
any other thing. I hustle even to this day. All day long is a hustle, talking, emailing, trying to find new opportunities. But you can't just stay in one small box of platforms where it's just radio or just this or just that. You know, you gotta get it from everywhere, because I'm able to make a comfortable living by having multiple revenue streams, you know?
I hear you.
I mean?
I hear you.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was fun chatting about that stuff, huh?
Yeah, man. Well, I love it. I don't really get to talk to people about this, because usually people just want to know how I got my band name.
Yeah.
And that, you know?
Well, we've already established that stuff. So,
Yeah.
All right, last question before we have to let you go here, because I know we want to play your new song here, "Me Against the World." Let's talk about this song. You sent it to me the first. Yeah, you sent it to me the first time. And I said, can I play it right away? And you said, well, hold off a little bit. And I said, okay, that's fine. But I heard it one time. It was a one-time listen for me. I got about 2 minutes in. I was hoping I'd get all of a sudden, you know, those hardcore vocals of Roman. I got that, and I said, this is a hit. Give us the details of this song. How did it all come about?
Well, again, bro, I appreciate you. This is going to be the first time the song is played anywhere ever. So the exclusive premiere right here on The Dark coming up. Very excited about this. Me Against the World, man. My last album was called Through the Ages. We put that out last November, so, you know, it's 9 months ago. And it was kind of experimental in the sense that we went to a lot of hip-hop stuff, a lot of trap beats, because at the end of the day, bro, I'm an artist. I grew up loving rock and roll, and that's always going to be ingrained in my blood. But that doesn't mean I can't like other things. Or, again, especially when I watch some of these newer, younger artists in other genres just explode in the music industry, you know, it's hard to not want to have a little part of that, you know what I mean? While trying to maintain the hard rock thing, it just doesn't go together. You know what I mean?
I hear you, yeah.
But so going in, man, you know, I think it really just took some things to happen to realize, you know what, you got to be grateful for what you have. You're in the rock scene. I was on tour with Adelita's Way, and the audience was just really responding to it, man. And I just, for the first time in a couple of years, bro, it just came down to I actually got inspired by rock music, and not even by music in particular, just the thought of, look, be grateful for what you have. You have a huge audience. People are seeing you. Rock stations and guys like you, bro, like have embraced you. Go make something that's going to satisfy you as an artist, but also the listener and the radio guy and the playlist curator and people who can just feel it. So I wanted to go in, keep our flavor, but keep it rock and roll, man, and keep those heavy elements, because at the end of the day, we're all rock fans. We want to hear some heavy stuff, and that's what I feel like Me Against the World is, and it has a message of conquering, you know, up against the odds, overcoming things and just going out there and getting it.
Awesome.
That's really what it is, man.
That's awesome.
And you know what? Shout out to you, man. Shout out to the Dark. Everyone in Little Falls, I hope we can come back soon and see everybody. And I just got to shout you out, bro.
All right. Awesome. Hey, you know what? Thanks so much for joining me. I'm glad things are on the up and up for you. Looking forward to this song blowing up huge, and you'll be a major rock star coming soon. Sound good, Kyle?
We'll see what happens, my brother, but that sounds good.
All righty. You want to introduce this song? And once again, that's Kyle from Blacklite District and your new song. Let's hear it. Let's give that introduction right now. You got your 10 seconds of fame here on the radio.
What up? This is Kyle from Blacklite District, and you are about to hear the world exclusive premiere of Me Against the World right here on The Dark.